The sands of time do not rush. They drift, slowly, softly. They fall like golden dust over the memories of kings and gods, over the temples and tombs carved to outlast the breath of men. Tonight, you are not just listening to a story, you are entering one. You will close your eyes and find yourself among stone pillars, beneath starlit skies, walking the ancient path of Pharaoh Djoser, the first builder of pyramids, the chosen of gods, and the dreamer who dared to shape eternity. From dust, through this story, you will drift across sacred fields and forgotten palaces. You will hear the hush of desert winds across Saqqara. You will feel the pulse of stone under your feet, steady, eternal, serene. You will stand beside Djoser in moments of solitude and triumph. Feel the quiet breath of Imhotep as he imagines the impossible, and slowly sink into the afterlife, where kings become constellations and memory becomes a song the stars remember. So take a deep breath now. Let the stillness find you. Let the past wrap its soft arms around your tired mind. You are safe here. The dream has already begun. The night is warm and still. The air smells of myrrh, dry reeds, and ancient dust. You are standing at the edge of Saqqara, not as a visitor, not as a stranger, but as someone who has always belonged here. Somehow, you feel the hush of time pressing gently on your shoulders. The sky above is an ocean of velvet and stars, and beneath your feet, the desert sings in silence. So, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I'm doing here, and if your heart feels open enough, you might share, quietly, where and when you're listening from. Just a whisper into the dark, a trace in the sand. Now, close your eyes. Let the stone speak. The desert was never empty. Long before pyramids rose, before priests lit incense in tall sanctuaries, there were footsteps in this place. The wind remembers them, and in one of those quiet dawns, long before the great pyramids, a child was born into the line of kings. His name would echo for thousands of years. Djoser, but on that morning, he was only a boy. The palace was hushed, not in fear, but reverence. For to be born of royal blood was not to be born to privilege, but to burden. The wet nurse hummed softly. The infant breathed slowly, and outside the linen-curtained windows, the Nile flowed like time itself, steady, winding, and full of secrets. You see the child again later, under an acacia tree. He is not yet a ruler, just a boy, barefoot in the sun, tracing circles in the sand with a reed. He listens more than he speaks. He watches ants crawl across hot stone. And sometimes, when the sun slants just right, he sees things that others do not. The outline of temples that don't yet exist. Visions of stairs reaching to the sky. Echoes of a future still waiting to be carved. The priests whisper about him. They say he dreams too deeply. But the high priest, the one who will become his closest guide, sees something different. Imhotep. A man of wisdom and strange serenity. He kneels beside the boy one day and says nothing, just places a small stone in his palm. White limestone, warm from the sun. The gods speak in stone, he finally says. If you listen closely, you'll hear them. And Djoser listens. You feel the sun shift across your own skin. The warmth is drowsy, comforting, like the embrace of old memory. You see Djoser grow, slowly, into the man he is to become. Not fierce, not loud, but quiet, like the sand just before it slips through your fingers. He learns, not from battles, but from dreams, not from conquest, but from contemplation. He watches the Nile flood and recede. He walks the quiet gardens of the palace alone, tracing spirals on alabaster tiles. He speaks with astronomers, listens to healers, and sometimes he sits beside Imhotep in silence, as if both of them are listening to something older than language. And you sit with them to dot the night deepens. The stars hang low, closer than they were before. Saqqara becomes a hush of outlines, soft dunes, distant walls. A whisper of something eternal pressing against the air. Djoser stands at the edge of the future, but he does not rush. He breathes, he dreams. And so do you. Drift with him now, into quiet, into stone, into sleep. There is a softness in the morning light, the way it touches the stone courtyards with fingers of gold. You awaken there, not with a start, but with the gentle recognition of a world that has always welcomed you. In this chapter of memory and reverence, you do not walk alone. You walk beside the boy who will become Pharaoh, and the land itself remembers your steps. The palace walls of Memphis rise like ancient guardians, not yet grand with carvings of triumphs or pyramids, but simple, serene, shaded by tamarisk trees and cooled by the breath of the Nile. Inside, corridors echo with sandals and whispers. The boy Djoser walks them with quiet resolve. Not yet a king, not yet divine. Just a shadow moving through sunlight. You feel the coolness of the limestone under his feet. Hear the rustling of linen robes. Smell the mingled scent of honeyed bread and lotus oil wafting from the morning kitchens. Time moves slowly here, as if holding its breath for something sacred to arrive. And yet, he is not what they expect. His brothers are louder, warriors in training, eager for spectacle. But Djoser prefers the library, if it can be called that. Just scrolls tucked into baskets, read in silence under woven canopies. He reads not just laws or prayers, but poems, slow verses about the stars, about the ache of longing in the heart of the moon. You see him now, seated by an open arch. His hands are soft, not calloused. He turns each scroll as though touching a leaf of history. You sense a question in his breath, something deeper than ambition. What is power, really? And what remains of a man when the sand has covered all? He does not ask it aloud. He does not need to. The gods are listening. And among those gods, a man walks. One who listens with them, Imhotep. The priest who speaks little, but whose presence carries a strange gravity. He watches Djoser, not with admiration, but with understanding. He has seen many sons of kings. Most burn fast and bright, loud and short-lived. But this boy glows. Imhotep takes Djoser beyond the palace walls, one day, into the whispering desert. The guards are uneasy, but the high priest only lifts a hand. The king's son is safe with him. You follow them across a low rise, where dunes drift like sleeping giants. The world is silent here, and the silence becomes a language. Do you hear it? Imhotep asks. But the question is not spoken aloud. It is breathed. Djoser nods. They reach the ridge where the cliffs of Saqqara begin to watch the Nile from afar. Imhotep kneels, presses his palm to the rock. This land, he murmurs, wants to remember, but it needs someone to help it speak. Djoser kneels too, placing his hand beside Imhotep's. The rock is warm, alive, somehow, from that moment on, the idea takes root. Not yet of a pyramid, not yet of stone ascending skyward, but of something lasting, a memory made visible. a monument not to conquest, but to connection. You feel that seed planting itself in Djoser's soul, not in haste, but in patience. The kind of idea that will take years, lifetimes, to carve back in the palace. Life moves around him. Tutors come and go. The rhythms of court pulse steadily. Banquets, alliances, rituals. But Djoser drifts at the edges, his eyes on things no one else sees. He speaks softly with potters, learns the scent of wet clay, watches artisans carve ivory and dreams of temples, where each god has their own breath. He visits the sick in the shadowed chambers and asks how they sleep, not out of curiosity, but care. And all the while, Imhotep watches, not guiding, not instructing, just waiting, because he knows what the gods know, that something is forming. One evening, a falcon lands near Djoser on the garden wall. Its feathers are dust-colored. Its eyes do not blink. It stares at him as though through centuries. In Egyptian thought, the falcon is Horus, sky god, guardian of kings. Djoser lifts his hand slowly, palm open. The falcon does not flee. It tilts its head, then flies into the sun-drenched horizon, disappearing over the palace. The moment is simple, but later the priests speak of it in hushed tones. The gods, they say, have chosen, and yet Djoser remains unchanged. He still walks alone at night, still traces stars with his finger, still returns to the edge of the cliffs where the desert begins, listening, always listening. It is here, on one such night, that you find him again. He stands motionless, wrapped in white linen, his gaze stretched across the horizon where sand meets sky. His voice is barely more than breath. If I am to be remembered, let it be not in gold or war, but in silence, in stone. You stand beside him in that silence, not as a servant, not as a subject, but as a companion of the heart. You know somehow what he means, because memory is not loud, it is soft, a sigh, a ripple on the Nile, a dream whispered in the dark as the stars gather like ancient witnesses. Djoser closes his eyes. He does not speak again that night, but in his silence you hear the first breath of something vast, a legacy, still unborn, wrapped in linen and longing. And so you rest there, with him in the hush between what was and what will be. The air is cool, the stones beneath you are warm, and the wind carries the promise of a king not yet crowned, a monument not yet made, a story still unfolding, just like your breath, just like your dreams. Drift there, sink softly, let time carry you. The next breath of memory will come soon. The dawn arrives not with brilliance, but with hush, a slow pale blooming over the desert, like ink soaking into linen. You awaken to this stillness, the light filtering softly through the high boughs of an ancient acacia tree. Its branches move gently, barely stirring the warm air, and each leaf seems to hold a secret. You are not alone. He is here again, the boy no longer, but not yet crowned. Djoser sits in the half-shade, robe loose around his shoulders, face tilted toward the sky. The years have begun to sculpt him, the soft lines of youth replaced by a stillness that holds weight, not burden, not yet, but awareness of what is coming, of what must be. The roots of the tree are gnarled, old beyond reckoning. He runs his fingers along the bark, tracing the veins like reading a prayer. And in the hush of morning, the tree whispers, not in words, but in memory. This is where he comes to listen, not to men, not to courts or councils, but to the land itself. You sit beside him now, as you always seem to do in these quiet moments. There is no need to speak. You only breathe together, the warm air sweet with acacia sap and early fig blossoms, bought from here. The city of Memphis spreads in sleepy sprawl, sun-washed rooftops, smoke curling from early hearths, the gleam of the river turning silver with first light. And beyond it all, the rising plain of Saqqara waits dry, vast, untouched, a blank canvas of eternity. He will build there. Not yet, but soon. For now, the tree listens, and so do you. Imhotep approaches from the garden's edge, quiet as ever. He carries no scroll today, no staff, no burden of priesthood, just a small jar of red ochre and a square of limestone. He kneels beside Djoser and opens the jar. Color, he says softly, is a kind of language, and with his finger he draws a line on the stone, a single curve, like a horizon. Djoser watches. Lines speak. Imhotep continues, voice low and steady. They say, here is above, here is below. A line can separate shadow from light, death from life, earth from sky. Djoser takes the jar and dips his own finger in the ochre. He does not draw a falcon or a lotus or an eye, just a step. One small ledge rising from the ground. Imhotep nods, a smile in his eyes. The conversation ends there, but the silence is full. That step, barely more than a thought in color, will become something the world has never seen. You feel it too, the edge of it forming in the air around you, as if even the sky holds its breath. Later that day, the court gathers in the hall of papyrus columns. The scent of burning resin fills the chamber, and the voices of courtiers buzz like bees behind carved screens. There is talk of taxes, of border raids, of marriages and gifts for Nubian chieftains. Djoser listens. He responds when needed, his tone, even his gaze, steady. But you can see, beneath the surface of duty, the stirrings of something deeper. The concerns of state do not anchor his soul. It is elsewhere, when the council ends and the gold-threaded doors close behind him. He does not return to his chamber. He goes instead to the workshops. Stonecutters greet him with bowed heads, surprised by his presence. But he waves them off. Not rudely, just softly, like mist brushing past. He watches as they chisel. He listens to the song of copper tools against limestone. And slowly, he kneels beside a young apprentice, asking, "Why do you carve?" The boy blinks. "Because I am told to." Djoser smiles gently. "But what do you feel when you shape the stone?" The apprentice hesitates, then whispers, "It listens to me." Djoser's smile lingers. He touches the half-finished block beside the boy, runs his hand along its face. "Every stone is already waiting," he murmurs. "We only remind it who it is." That night, beneath the acacia, again, Djoser draws, not with ink, but in the dust. A pyramid, yes, but not smooth, not gleaming. It rises in steps, like a staircase for the soul. Each tier leads to the sky, not to boast, not to dominate, but to ascend, to return, to become light again. Imhotep stands in the shadows, watching. "The gods whisper differently to you," he says at last. Djoser doesn't look up. They whisper to everyone. "I've just learned to be quiet." The stars bloom in the sky like slow embers. You tilt your head back and feel the same cool pull, as if the heavens are not above, but within. The line between body and cosmos grows thin, and so time begins to shift. Djoser is no longer merely a prince. The days stretch and bend. The calls for his coronation begin to rise softly at first, then louder. The priests prepare rituals. The people gather in prayer. Offerings overflow at the temple gates. But still, he waits beneath the tree. You find him there one last time, the morning before he ascends the throne. He holds nothing, wears no crown, speaks no grand words, only this: I am not a god, but I walk toward the gods. And in your heart, you understand. Kings are not born divine. They become divine by remembering the silence from which they came. He walks away from the tree then, slow, steady, toward the place where he will be crowned. You remain behind, hand resting on the bark, breath soft in your chest. The acacia shivers gently in the wind. The dust holds the drawing still. The whisper lingers. Stone will rise. But first, the soul must listen. Sleep now. Let the hush carry you. Let the wind fold gently around your thoughts. Let the first stone of memory settle in your dreams. The pyramid is coming, but not just yet. For now, you rest in shade, in silence, in grace. There is a sacred hush in the air tonight, like a veil drawn gently over the world. You return again, not as a visitor, not even as a dreamer, but as a thread in the great tapestry of time. You know the rhythms now, the way the wind slows. When memory approaches, the way stone breathes beneath moonlight, and you see him, Djoser, not the boy beneath the acacia tree, not the quiet listener at the palace edge, but Pharaoh. The white crown of Upper Egypt rests upon his brow, not like a conquest, but a weight, a calling. He wears it not to shine, but to serve. The coronation was not thunderous, no trumpet of war, no violent declaration. Instead, the people wept quietly in the temples. Priests sang long, rising prayers. Incense floated skyward like the souls of ancestors stirred from slumber, and Djoser walked between pillars draped in linen and gold, head bowed, hands open. He did not look toward the throne. He looked toward Saqqara. And now, you walked with him across that sacred earth. The sand glows pale beneath a sun softened by morning haze. Around him walk priests, architects, scribes. But all keep their distance. They feel something in him now, not power in the usual sense, but presence. He kneels and touches the ground with his palm. This land is not mine, he whispers, almost to himself. I belong to it. You kneel beside him, the warmth of the sand pressing through your robes. Beneath your hand, the earth feels alive, ancient, waiting, full of silent. Songs.imhotep joins you. No longer only a priest, but now the Pharaoh's closest mind. The one who listens when others speak too loudly. The one who sees the unbuilt in the unbroken. He lays out a series of tablets before Djoser, sketches and symbols, ideas and proportions. But Djoser does not rush. He does not seize any plan. He simply closes his eyes and listens. I do not want a tomb, he finally says. Imhotep tilts his head. No, I want a conversation. Silence. Then a breath of wind stirs the sand. Imhotep understands. A conversation between what? He asks, voice like stone on water. Djoser opens his eyes. Between sky and stone. Between time and memory. Between the soul and its echo. Imhotep nods. A line is drawn. The first of many, and so the work begins. Not with noise, not with command, but with intention. You stand at the edge of the rising ground as the first stones are placed, not carved yet, only brought near. The workers chant softly, barefoot on sacred earth. Oxen groan, ropes stretch, sweat falls into dust. But it is all wrapped in stillness. In reverence, Djoser does not watch from a throne. He walks among them. He speaks with the stone haulers, listens to the masons. He places his own hand on the first cornerstone, not to bless it, but to feel it. You feel it too, the pulse of something vast, not yet born, but already real. And what begins as a mastaba, a low, flat tomb of tradition, soon transforms under Djoser's vision. One level rises, then another, step by step, as if the structure itself is breathing upward, as if it remembers the stairs of the gods. Imhotep adapts, innovates, reinvents. Stone replaces mud brick. Pillars are carved to resemble bundles of reeds, honoring the papyrus swamps of the delta. A courtyard takes shape, echoing the Hebset festival, a place where kings renew their spirit, and still the pyramid rises. Not just a burial site, a stairway, an idea, a sculpted destiny. You walk through its chambers as they take form, the cool hush of hallways still unfinished, the scent of dust and limestone, walls etched with false doors and star ceilings, as if preparing the soul to enter the sky. And though no one says it aloud, you feel what all feel, that this is no longer just Djoser's resting place. It is the birth of eternity itself. Outside, life continues, seasons turn, the Nile floods and recedes. But within the rising complex, a different time unfolds, slower, deeper, cyclical. A rhythm of chisels and breath, of vision becoming form. You stand with Djoser one evening as he gazes at the growing steps. The setting sun turns the stone golden, then rose, then violet. He does not speak for a long while. Then, "This is not to preserve my body." You turn to him. "This is to remember that I lived with intention." And suddenly, you understand. Djoser does not fear death. He fears being forgotten without meaning. He wants his memory to be more than name. He wants it to be an invitation, to ascend, to become, to remember. Later that night, beneath a dark sky, scattered with stars, you dream of the staircase. You climb it slowly, barefoot and unafraid. Each step is a year, a choice, a prayer, and when you reach the top, you find no throne, no chamber. Only sky. Only wind, only stillness. You are not alone. Djoser stands beside you, wrapped in linen, his face serene. "Nothing we build," he says gently, "lasts unless it is loved." And that is the secret. Not stone, not gold, not power, but love, quiet, steadfast, carved into every line of intention. The dream fades, and you feel your breath slow. You hear the distant sound of chisels, not harsh but rhythmic, like a lullaby. Of stone, you know the pyramid is not yet finished, but that is the beauty of it. It is becoming, and so are you. Sleep now, gentle soul. The sculptor is still carving, and the stars above still wait for the final step. The desert sleeps, but beneath the surface, dreams stir. You drift into this silence, soft and golden, where time stretches like a linen sheet laid gently over memory. The wind tonight is tender. It brushes your skin like a whisper, carrying the scent of stone, dust, and sacred oil. You find yourself once more in Saqqara. The pyramid rises slowly now, not yet complete, but already a marvel, a stairway touching the edge of the sun. And there, standing in the long shadow it casts at dawn, is a figure you know. Not Djoser, not the king, but the one beside the king. Imhotep. You see him in stillness, always in stillness, as if he moves, not with time, but around it. His eyes are dark, not with mystery, but with depth, like deep water, holding all the sky within. His robes are simple. His hands are stained with ochre and limestone dust. He is not crowned, not robed in jewels, yet even the priests bow their heads as he walks past, because they know this man is building something the world has never seen. Not only in stone, but in soul. Imhotep was once a child of humble origin, a scribe's son, a boy with ink-stained fingers and too many questions. But questions, when asked to the gods with reverence, become prayers. And Imhotep never stopped asking. You see glimpses of his memory now, soft like candlelight, a boy, kneeling in the temple of Thoth, eyes wide as priests chant the stars into being. A youth sketching impossible buildings on scraps of discarded bark. A young man watching the flight of birds and wondering how temples could be shaped like wings. He became a priest, a physician, an architect, a poet, but never just one thing. He was always reaching, always listening, not for answers, but for harmony. And then he met Djoser. You see it clearly now. That first meeting, not a ceremony, but quiet moment. Two men standing beside a plain wall of uncut stone. No crown, no throne, just presence. And in that instant a bond was formed, not of duty but of shared vision. Djoser spoke of dreams. Imhotep listened, and in Imhotep's mind, those dreams began to take form, not as visions, but as plans, as lines, as measurements, as possibilities. The pyramid that now rises at Saqqara is not Djoser's alone. It is the echo of their partnership, the dialogue of king and sage. You walk beside Imhotep now as he moves through the construction site, not with command, but with quiet attention. He runs his fingers over the chiseled walls, feels for flaws in the breath of the stone. He listens to the sound of hammer on rock, judging not the rhythm, but the soul of the work. He pauses near a doorway being carved. A laborer looks up nervously. Imhotep kneels beside him, says nothing, then takes the chisel and makes a single, soft mark, shifting the line by a hair's width. There, he murmurs. Now it breathes. The laborer stares, not in confusion, but awe, because Imhotep does not build like others. He listens first to the land, to the gods, to the silence between things, and slowly the complex at Saqqara begins to take shape beyond. The pyramid colonnades with stone pillars imitating bundled reeds, sanctuaries carved for divine rites, open courtyards where the king might renew his soul. Everything is connected, not just in structure, but in meaning. In memory. Imhotep speaks of this often to Djoser, beneath the fig trees in the garden. We are not building a tomb, he says, but a mirror. A mirror, Djoser asks, sipping water from a clay vessel. Imhotep smiles. Yes, a mirror of the heavens. As above, so below. The soul must recognize where it is going. The afterlife must not feel foreign. It must feel like home. Djoser nods, quiet. You feel the weight of that silence, the understanding blooming between them later that night. Imhotep walks alone. He carries a small lamp, the flame flickering low. He enters the unfinished burial chamber deep beneath the Step Pyramid. It is cool here, the air still untouched for millennia. He kneels and begins to draw, not with ink this time, but with his fingertip in the dust celestial maps, the curve of Dewat, the underworld, the passage of the soul beyond the western horizon. He draws the stars, not as they appear, but as they feel, points of longing, of remembrance. You kneel beside him, unseen. But somehow, you feel as though he knows you're there. There is no death, he says softly, only a return. He traces a curve. This is the soul's journey. Through judgment, through transformation, through light. Then he smiles faintly, as if amused by something larger than words. I am not a priest because I believe, he says. I am a priest because I remember. You don't ask what he means. You don't need to. The truth hums in the air, like a harp string plucked by unseen hands. Imhotep stands and brushes dust from his robes. He walks back up the long, sloped corridor into the starlit night. You follow, slowly, and when you emerge into the open air, you see it, the Step Pyramid silhouetted against the sky, like a staircase waiting for souls. It is not yet complete, but already eternal. You lie down on the cool stone of the courtyard. Above you, the stars stretch endlessly. Below you, the earth remembers every step you've taken. And somewhere between the two, in that breathless in-between, is Imhotep's vision. Not a monument, not a name, but a message that we are meant to ascend, and the only way is together. Close your eyes now. Let the sacred geometry fold around you. Let the stars whisper their slow stories. Let the chisel of thought become quiet. Imhotep's vision is already complete in the place where dreams are carved. Rest there. Let the silence shape you. Let sleep carry you up the first step. There is no hurry. The heavens will wait. The air tonight is cool and still, holding the silence like a sacred breath. You feel it as you return. The hush of the desert after the workers have gone, the way moonlight drapes itself over unfinished stone. Each block rests quietly, like it knows where it belongs, even if it hasn't been placed there yet. You walk through the site of Saqqara now, not a ruin, not a relic, but a living thing. The Step Pyramid rises above you, its edges catching silver light, casting long shadows that whisper of centuries still to come. It is not finished, and yet it already feels complete, because it breathes. You run your hand along the cool limestone, feel the pulse of time beneath your fingertips. This is not just architecture, it's memory, solidified, and somewhere within this sacred space, Pharaoh Djoser stands, gazing upward. He has changed. You see it in the way he holds his body. No longer the uncertain boy beneath the tree, no longer the dreamer at the edge of the palace wall. Now he carries the weight of vision fulfilled, not pridefully, but humbly, as one who knows that vision, once shaped, does not belong to the self, but to time. He speaks softly to Imhotep, who stands beside him with arms crossed over his chest, the wind tugging gently at his robes. It is becoming, Djoser says. Imhotep nods. And so are you. They walk slowly between the columns, past courtyards that echo with sandal prints and prayers. Djoser stops before a wall where the workers have etched false doors, gateways not meant to open, but to invite. For the car, Imhotep explains, touching one gently, so the spirit may come and go. Djoser traces the carved lintel eyes distant. You feel what he feels, not fear, but recognition, a quiet acceptance that this place is not merely his tomb, it is his echo dot. As you move with him deeper into the complex, the sacred geometry begins to unfold, not just in stone, but in sensation. Everything is placed with intention. The steps align with the journey of the sun. The corridors mimic the belly of the underworld. The outer walls encircle the space like protective arms. Here, eternity is not abstract. It is walked. It is breathed. You find yourself in the Hebsed courtyard, where rituals of renewal are held. Djoser stands at its center, facing the ceremonial platform. This is where pharaohs run, not for sport, but for rebirth, proving their strength not to men, but to the gods. But Djoser does not run. He walks slowly, each step deliberate, almost meditative, and in doing so, he redefines the right. He does not prove he is king. He becomes the king who does not need to prove. You follow the trail of his footsteps, each one soft in the dust, and you hear the whispered prayers of priests echoing across the walls. They speak his name not with obedience, but with reverence. Necha, Nefer, they call him, the good God. And for the first time, Djoser begins to believe that what he is building, in stone, in law, in the hearts of his people, might truly last beyond breath. He retreats that evening to the sanctum, a quiet chamber carved beneath the western colonnade. No light reaches here, only the soft scent of cedar and resin, the flicker of a single oil lamp. You are there with him, as always. He removes his crown, places it gently beside a bowl of water. He touches the floor with his bare hands, bows his head, and he prays, not aloud, not in words, but in stillness. The kind of prayer that needs no language, the kind that speaks directly to the gods through intention alone. You watch as his breath slows, as the lines in his face soften. He is not afraid of death. He is preparing for it, not with dread, but with gratitude. Outside, the pyramid glows faintly under the stars, like a great beacon to the unseen. You walk among the outer chambers again. See the statues being carved. Djoser's likeness in still poses, facing eternity. Not as a conqueror, but as a servant of the sacred. There is one chamber where Imhotep has begun to inscribe, spells protective hymns to guide the soul. He writes with quiet care, each hieroglyph a promise, a map, a memory made visible. You watch as he pauses, hand hovering over the stone. He fears only one thing, Imhotep murmurs. You tilt your head, being forgotten. You understand. In the end, we all wish to leave behind something that matters, something that speaks when we no longer can dot. And so the steps continue to rise, not just the pyramid, but within Djoser himself. Each day he becomes more than man, not by decree, but by surrender, by giving his will to something larger than himself, to order, to memory, to eternity. One evening, as the sun sinks behind the dunes, you sit beside Djoser atop the highest tier yet completed. The wind wraps around you gently, tugging at your linen, carrying the scent of sand and myrrh. Below, the complex stretches outward, a pattern of sacred lines in open spaces above. The sky turns indigo, pierced by the first appearing stars, and in between, Djoser closes his eyes. I used to wonder what the gods wanted, he says quietly. Now I think. They want us to remember that we are part of them. You rest beside him in silence. The stones beneath you are still warm from the day. The breeze hums like a lullaby. He turns to you once more. Every step is a choice, he whispers, to rise or to remain. Then he looks out over the horizon, and I will rise. You close your eyes with him. The wind grows softer. The stars blink slowly into place. And somewhere in the unseen distance, the first echoes of eternity answer back. Sleep now. Let each breath carry you upward. Let each dream be a step. You do not need to climb quickly. You are already ascending, softly, quietly, toward light. The desert at dawn is a sacred hush. You awaken with it, not from sleep, but into something quieter. The breeze carries grains of sand across smooth stone, and the light is soft as breath, painting the limestone with gold. You feel it on your skin, this warmth from the waking sun. It is not the heat of fire. It is the gentle memory of something ancient stirring again. You stand before the Step Pyramid now, taller than before. It has grown, quietly, faithfully, day after day, not with spectacle, not with declarations, but with stillness. Each block, each edge, each line whispers. It rises, not to impress, but to endure. Djoser watches it too. You find him alone this morning, wrapped in a plain white robe, his feet bare upon the earth. The robes of kingship are set aside for now. He does not come as Pharaoh. He comes as a soul among stones. He walks the length of the courtyard, slowly tracing the edges of the sacred ground with his eyes. Around him, the columns still stand unfinished, scaffolds leaning like skeletons of future dreams. The workers have not yet arrived. The site is still asleep. Only you and he are awake. And the pyramid, of course, he speaks. Softly, it grows quieter, the higher it rises. You listen. There is something in the silence up there. He continues, eyes lifting to the topmost step. A kind of stillness that doesn't feel empty. It feels full. You know what he means. The farther the stone climbs toward the sky, the more it begins to touch the eternal. This is not about death. Not anymore. This is about becoming something the wind will remember. Something the stars will recognize. The workers begin to arrive now, slow and steady. Their chatter hushed in the sacred morning light. They bow to Djoser as they pass. Not out of fear. Out of devotion, he walks among them. No commands, no spectacle. Just presence. He places his hand on a cart of limestone bricks and nods. One of the masons, a man older than most, with sun-weathered hands and eyes like dry riverbeds, looks up and says, "When it's done, what will you call it, my king?" Djoser pauses. "Then, I will not name it." The mason blinks. "No name." Djoser smiles faintly. "Let it name itself. Let the wind decide. Let time speak for me." And then he walks on. You follow, passing walls, newly etched with prayers. Not of conquest, but of protection. Not, "I was mighty, but let me pass." Not, "Remember my name, but guide my soul." This pyramid is not a monument to ego. It is a vessel, a bridge, a question shaped in stone. Imhotep stands on the western side, studying a set of measurements. He runs his fingers along a column and marks it with ochre, adjusting a single line by no more than a breath's width. You ask silently, "Why so precise?" And the answer comes not in words, but in feeling. Because this is how love looks when it becomes geometry. You move through the inner passageways now, where sunlight cannot reach, only oil lamps and the quiet breath of the earth. The air is cooler here, almost sacred. You imagine what it will feel like when Djoser's body one day rests here, wrapped in linens, surrounded by spells. His name written in the walls like a whisper that never fades. But that day is not yet. Today, he still walks in the sun. You return to the surface and find him beneath the southern colonnade. He watches as Imhotep oversees a group of artisans carving reliefs, not of battles, not of trophies, but of offerings. Baskets of bread, jars of beer, lotus flowers, loaves, and incense, and cattle. What good is glory, Djoser murmurs beside you, if it does not feed the soul? He turns to you, eyes soft, deeper now. I do not want to be worshipped, he says. I want to be remembered as one who served. The pyramid behind him glows in the rising sun. It is a quiet blaze, no trumpets, no blood, only light. Later, Djoser retreats to his garden. You walk with him through rows of palm trees, the shade dappled and cool. He kneels beside a small fig tree, its leaves young, its roots strong. He speaks softly. The pyramid is not just for me, it is for all who come after. He presses his palm to the earth. They must know we tried, that we reached upward not to escape, but to bring heaven closer. He plucks a single fig and hands it to you. This, he says, is why we build, not for stone, not for glory, but for moments like this, sweet, fleeting, and shared. You eat slowly, and the fruit tastes like sunlight made soft in the evening. As the pyramid casts long shadows across the land, you and Djoser climb to its topmost tier. It is not easy. The stones are wide, the steps steep, but there is no rush. Each step is its own meditation. Each breath is a prayer, and when you reach the summit, the view steals even the silence from your heart. The desert spreads out in all directions, vast and eternal. The Nile winds below like a living vein, and above, the sky opens, not as distance, but as welcome. Djoser breathes deeply, face tilted to the heavens. This is not the end, he says. No, you whisper, it's the beginning. He smiles, and in that smile you see something that no stone could hold. Peace. He stands, arms wide, letting the wind wash over him. And in that moment, Pharaoh Djoser is no longer just king. He is a part of the land, a part of the sky, a part of something wordless and vast. You lie down beside him on the warm stone. Close your eyes. The wind sings gently now, curling through the step pyramid into its chambers and corridors, as if telling the stone, you are ready, sleep. Dear listener, let the hush of rising stone carry you. Let the stillness hold your breath. Like a sacred vow, you are already part of the pyramid's story, and the pyramid is already part of you. The next step will come in silence, as all sacred things do. The moon has risen high above Saqqara, casting silver ribbons over the white stone of the pyramid. You find yourself at the edge of the temple courtyard, where warm incense still lingers in the breeze. The world is asleep, but the sacred never rests. Somewhere nearby, a torch flickers low. Somewhere far above, stars shimmer like the eyes of gods. Tonight, you are witness not to building, but to devotion. Pharaoh Djoser stands in the outer court, barefoot on the cool flagstones, hands raised toward the heavens. He is dressed not in the golden regalia of kingship, but in simple linen, dyed the color of desert milk. A thin veil of sand swirls gently around his feet, a quiet offering from the earth itself. The priests form a circle around him, their chants rising and falling, like slow breaths. You do not understand all the words, but you feel them. They reach deep into your bones, like echoes from a place you've always known but never remembered. This is a festival of offerings, a night devoted to the gods of the sky, to Horus, to Ra, to Nut, who stretches her star-speckled body above the world. But it is not a performance. It is not loud. It is not for spectacle. It is for intimacy, for remembrance, for ascent. You step softly behind the procession as they move to the southern chapel, one of many scattered around the pyramid complex. Each structure holds a different aspect of the divine, each corner aligned with celestial pathways. Imhotep designed it this way, to guide not just the soul of the king, but of the people, the land, the cosmos itself. Inside, torchlight flickers over reliefs carved deep into the limestone, offerings of bread and beer, lotus and papyrus, sweet dates and golden honey. The gifts are symbolic, but also real. You see jars arranged on low stone altars, fruits laid out on red mats, water poured with careful hands. Djoser steps forward. He lifts a carved cup to the gods and speaks softly, so softly it is almost wind. To the sky that bore me, he says, and the stars that wait for me. He pours a libation onto the earth. The water soaks into the sand with a quiet hiss, a sound that feels like a promise. To the gods who breathe through stone, he continues, and the silence that holds them. Another offering, and then his voice lowers even further. To the ones who came before me, and the ones who will come after. A final offering. The room grows still, not with absence, but with presence, as if something unseen has entered, as if the gods have leaned in closer. You feel it too, the invisible weight of witnessing, not from above, but from within. The chants rise once more, a soft rhythm, almost like waves, like sleep. You close your eyes and sway with the cadence. The stone under your feet feels warm, alive. When the ritual ends, the priests bow and step back, their roles complete. But Djoser does not leave. He lingers in the chapel alone, gazing at the walls, tracing his fingers across the hieroglyphs. Carved there, you approach him quietly, drawn by the serenity in his posture. These offerings, he says without turning, they are not to buy favor. You listen, they are conversations, reminders. We give, so we remember what we already have. He places a small loaf of bread on the altar with his own hands, not as a king, not as a god, but as a man. Then he smiles. The gods do not hunger, but the soul does. You walk with him into the night. The air is cooler now, brushed with the scent of tamarisk and myrrh. Above you, the constellation of Orion shines bright. In Egyptian belief, this is the form of Osiris, god of the afterlife, of rebirth, of eternity. Djoser stops and stares upward. I do not fear death, he says. His voice is calm. I only fear forgetting what life tasted like. He kneels, then touches the earth with both hands. This sand, he says, this breath, it has carried every name, every voice. Mine is not special, but I will honor it. You kneel beside him. There are no more crowds, no chants, no offerings. Only this moment, the sky, the earth, a king who remembers what it means to kneel. Later, you find yourselves at the base of the pyramid. It looms above, tiered and solemn, bathed in moonlight. The steps are more than structure. Now they are ritual, they are rhythm, they are memory. Djoser places his hand on the lowest block. This, he says, is my true offering. You understand the pyramid itself, not just as a tomb, not just as a monument, but as devotion. Made visible, each stone an offering, each step a hymn, each alignment a prayer. This is not how the world usually worships. This is how eternity listens. Djoser lies back on the sand, arms folded beneath his head, gazing up. You know, he says softly, One day no one will speak my name. You don't respond. He doesn't need you to. He closes his eyes. But, still, I leave this behind. Not so they remember me, but so they remember what is possible. You lie beside him. The stars shimmer like 1,000 gentle eyes. The pyramid watches over you both, silent, rising, waiting. And somewhere inside you, something settles, something sacred, something still. Not a lesson, not a command, but a presence. You are not here to build pyramids, but you to offer something. Your breath, your dreams, your stillness. Tonight, sleep is your offering, so close your eyes, let the stone hold you, let the stars bless you, let the wind carry your name like a lullaby. You do not need to be remembered, you only need to offer yourself fully to the sky. Sleep now, the gods are listening, and the pyramid still rises, quietly, softly, one breath at a time. The sky is pale tonight, washed in hues of ash and pearl. You find yourself in the quietest part of Saqqara, not near the grand courtyards, nor by the towering steps of the pyramid, but deep within the echoing belly of stone. The light here is faint. Shadows nestle in corners like sleeping birds, and silence hangs heavy, not with peace, but with something more delicate, something like loneliness. You walk these corridors slowly. The limestone walls breathe beside you. Their surfaces are cool to the touch, even in the heat of day. In them are inscribed prayers, spells, and names, each one a voice captured in glyphs, speaking to eternity. But tonight, there is no voice, no chant, no prayer, only Djoser, alone. You find him seated in a small chamber deep beneath the pyramid. A stone bench rests against one wall, carved smooth by use. There is no crown on his head, no robe of gold on his shoulders. He sits wrapped in simple linen, hands resting on his knees, eyes unfocused. A single oil lamp flickers beside him, its flame unsteady. He does not look up when you enter, but you feel, somehow, that he knows you're here. This chamber, it is one of the king's inner sanctuaries. Few are permitted to enter. Not even the priests come here without invitation. It is a place for reflection or retreat. You sit across from him, the stone cold beneath you. The quiet is thick between you, but it isn't empty. It is full of breath, of memory, of the soft weight of time pressing inward like the desert wind against a sealed door. Finally, he speaks. I have never felt more surrounded, he says, and yet I have never felt more alone. His voice is a whisper, a confession, perhaps, not to you, but to the walls, to the gods, to himself. He looks up, eyes hollowed by long days and longer thoughts. I built this to hold my soul, but what holds my heart? You don't answer. You can't, not because you don't know the words, but because there are none. There are moments in a king's life when no ritual can reach, no decree can mend. Moments only silence understands. He stands slowly, walks to the wall, and places his hand on the carved form of his own likeness. A relief unfinished, his face half-formed, the eyes still blank. I don't know who that is, he says. He lingers there, fingertips brushing the cold contours. They say I will become a god, that when I pass through the west, I will rise with Ra and be one with the sky. He turns to you, but what if I just vanish? You see in his gaze not fear of death, but fear of erasure, of becoming dust in the wind, scattered, unnamed, unheld. He walks through the chamber slowly, touches the altar, the jar of natron, the rolled papyri. He lifts a piece of alabaster, carved with sacred text. He reads it aloud, his voice trembling. May your name endure. May your heart be light. May you pass unharmed through the field of reeds. He smiles, but it does not reach his eyes. I've written my name on every wall, he says, and yet I feel myself fading. You rise, quietly, and walk with him through the long tunnel. The lamp's glow flickers along the carved relics, casting dancing shadows, gods with jackal heads, serpents with wings, celestial boats sailing across the ceilings. But even these divine figures seem subdued tonight, as if they, too, understand. This quiet sorrow as you emerge into the open air, the stars flood over you like balm. The wind brushes against your skin, cool, gentle, almost human in its touch. Djoser breathes deeply. I have given the people water, food, peace. I have honored Matt. I have listened to the gods. He closes his eyes. And still, there is a space inside me that even the gods do not enter. You understand. Even in the greatest vision, even in the most sacred work, there is a quiet corner that remains untouched, vulnerable, and sometimes that corner echoes. He walks slowly to the edge of the sacred enclosure wall, where the night beyond stretches, vast and unknowable. The desert beyond, the complex rolls in gentle dunes, untouched and eternal. He stares into that distance for a long time. I wonder if they will stand here, he says at last, those who come after. Will they touch these stones? Will they know I sat here and felt small? You stand beside him. They will see a king. They will see a god. But will they see a man who wept alone in the night? You say nothing, but your presence speaks. And he feels it. He turns his gaze to the pyramid. Imhotep says it is nearly finished. A few more courses, a final casing of stone, the burial shaft sealed. He is quiet, and yet I am not ready. He rests a hand on the wall. I thought this would prepare me, but no monument, no prayer, no offering can teach the heart how to let go. Above, the stars begin to shift, a slow drift, like boats floating across the celestial Nile. Somewhere, the constellation of Orion rises again. Osiris, god of resurrection. Djoser lifts his face to it. Perhaps I am not meant to let go, he says. Perhaps I am only meant to learn how to carry the weight of longing. He steps back from the wall and folds his arms across his chest. Even gods, he whispers, must have once known loneliness. Or else, why would they have created us? You walk with him back to the central courtyard. The workers are gone. The tools rest against the walls. The pyramid looms, its topmost tear outlined against the star-washed sky. He kneels before it, places both palms on the first step, and breathes. You kneel beside him. There are no priests, no torches, no drums. Only two souls, side by side, touching stone. May this stone hold more than my name, he says softly. May it hold my ache, my questions, my silences. You feel the stone pulse beneath your hand, not physically, not aloud, but in presence. You close your eyes, and in that darkness, you hear it, the softest sound. A heart still beating beneath the pyramid. A king, still human, a soul still seeking. Let yourself rest now. Let the loneliness pass over you like wind across dunes. It does not come to harm you, only to remind you that even in solitude you are seen. You are never alone. Sleep now in the quiet space between stone and sky. Let Djoser's silence wrap around your own and drift, gently, deeper still. The western sky is not a place, but a direction, a calling, a promise. A soft glowing doorway where the sun slips each day to begin its secret journey beneath the world. And tonight you walk with Djoser toward that horizon. The sands are cooling beneath your bare feet. The air is touched with myrrh and salt carried on the breeze. Behind you, the Step Pyramid watches tall, silent and steady, as if it knows something you don't, something gentle, something final. Djoser is wrapped in his ceremonial linen robe, the folds white as cloud, glowing faintly in the dusk. His hair is bound simply with a strip of cloth. There are no jewels on his wrists, no collar of lapis and turquoise. Only stillness, only breath. He does not speak at first. You feel that he is listening, not to you, but to something deeper. Perhaps to the desert itself, perhaps to his soul. You follow him as he steps away from the sacred complex, toward the edge of Saqqara, where tombs of nobles are carved into the earth. Here, the air is quiet in a different way, not empty, but full of what once was. Every stone seems to whisper names into the dark. He pauses beside a low mastaba, hands clasped behind his back. I knew this man, he says quietly. He served my father, taught me to read the stars. You watch as he kneels beside the tomb, touches the sandstone. He told me that when the sun sets, it does not die. It only goes home. The wind brushes across your face. The sky burns softly with a fading amber hue, like a flame gently retreating into memory. Djoser looks west. There is a part of me, he says, that feels like it's already there, like the West has been calling me since I was born. You stand with him in silence. In ancient Kemet, the West was more than direction. It was Duat, the place of judgment and transformation, the realm of Osiris, Lord of the Dead. It was where the soul traveled to be weighed, to be seen, to be made eternal. Djoser breathes deeply, as if preparing. You know, he says, I once dreamed that I walked through a field made of stars. You turned to him. They shimmered like water, and I could feel them under my feet. Soft, cold, alive. He smiles faintly. And I was not afraid. I was home. He looks at you now. His eyes, aged by the sun and softened by silence, search yours. What do you think waits for us? You consider the question, but you don't answer. Instead, you offer your presence a steadiness in the wind, a quiet companion in the dusk. He nods, as if that's answer enough. You walk with him back toward the enclosure wall, where priests have lit torches in preparation for the twilight ritual. Their flames sway like reeds, golden against the dimming horizon. Imhotep is there, waiting in silence. He carries a scroll beneath his arm, its ends capped with ivory. His face is unreadable, calm like still water. Djoser bows to him gently, not as king to subject, but as friend to friend. Is it ready? Djoser asks. Imhotep nods. The texts have been placed. The burial chamber is sealed. The final rites may begin whenever you call them. Djoser looks up at the pyramid. Its steps glow in the firelight, a soft blush of orange and gold. For a moment, he seems to shrink, not physically, but inwardly, as if the weight of what has been built presses down upon him. Then he says something unexpected. Not yet. Imhotep raises an eyebrow, but says nothing. Djoser turns away from the priests and walks once more into the open courtyard, his pace slow, meditative. You follow, close behind. He stops in the very center, where sky and stone meet. The sun has nearly vanished now, a thin line of red barely clinging to the edge of the world. I don't want the end to feel like a closing, he says. You understand, he wants it to feel like opening, like returning. He kneels and presses his forehead to the ground. His voice is no louder than breath. May I rise like Ra, pass through the night unharmed, and be seen again in the morning. The wind stirs the sand around you. The priests remain still. Imhotep lowers his eyes. There is a sacred hush here, the kind that comes just before a gate opens in the stars. Djoser stands again, taller somehow, lighter. I dream of the western horizon often now, he says, not with fear, but with longing, I think. I think it's where the soul remembers who it was before it became flesh. He closes his eyes, and you feel something. Shift. A letting go, a readiness. Tomorrow, he says, softly, we will begin the rite. You walk with him along the inner wall once more, under the painted stars of the colonnade. His footsteps echo faintly, the rhythm of a life preparing to pass into legend. He speaks again. I wonder what it will feel like to step beyond breath, to become story. He pauses, then turns to you. Will you remember me? And though you say nothing aloud, the answer blooms between you. Yes, in every breath of desert wind, in every beam of golden light on limestone, in every step of silence up the pyramid's side, you will remember, because he is no longer only man. He is memory, he is myth, he is becoming, as you part from him that night, and lie beneath the open stars. The western sky burns faintly, not with flame, but with invitation, a gentle pulse of eternity. The dream has begun. Let it carry you now, softly, across the threshold of thought. Let the wind lull you into stillness. The sun has set, but the soul still walks. Sleep now, beloved listener. The west is waiting, and you are ready to follow. The morning comes not with light, but with breath. A soft exhale across the sands, a slow awakening, the kind that happens in silence. You find yourself once again in the stillness of Saqqara, where the air is thick with memory and the pyramid stands as steady as a heartbeat. Today feels different. There is a quiet pulse beneath everything, beneath the stones, the wind, the whisper of linen against skin. The workers are gone. The courtyards are empty. The altar fires burn low. It is as if the entire complex holds its breath. You walk the familiar path to the heart of the enclosure, where the colonnades arch like ribs of a living body. The pyramid looms just beyond, its steps golden in the rising sun. And there, at its base, stands Djoser. He does not move at first. He gazes up at the monument he has built, the one that has grown with him, tear by tear, breath by breath. His hands are clasped behind his back. His robe is plain. His crown rests under his arm, and in his stillness he is not a king. He is a mirror, reflecting all he has lived, all he has lost, all he has become. You approach softly, not to disturb, but to share the silence. Djoser speaks without turning. I dreamt of myself last night. His voice is steady. I saw myself in the field of reeds, not as I am, but as I once was. A boy beneath the acacia tree. No crown, no throne. Only sand beneath my feet, and the voice of the wind. You nod. You remember that boy. He turns to you, slowly. Have I changed? The question is not small. It is not simple. You look at him, and you see not just a man, but all his memories, layered like stone. You see the boy who traced spirals in dust, The student who listened to Imhotep's voice like scripture, the dreamer who touched limestone and imagined stairs to the gods, the ruler who chose stillness over conquest, the soul who now prepares to leave it all behind. Djoser studies your face and smiles. You do not answer, but I feel your reply. He places the crown on a low altar near the pyramid's edge. I no longer need this, he says. He walks now, not toward the burial chamber, not yet, but toward the reflecting pool in the outer courtyard. The priests filled it in the night with water drawn from sacred wells. Its surface is still as glass, undisturbed. Djoser kneels beside it. You kneel to dock together. You look into the water. The sky reflects clearly scattered clouds, a soft blue bloom of morning. And beneath that sky, you see his face, not as it is, as it has always been, timeless, worn yet radiant, quiet yet immense, fading yet eternal. He speaks without breaking the reflection. Time does not erase us, it shapes us. He dips his fingers into the water, sending ripples across the mirror. His reflection breaks into 1,000 dancing fragments, shifting, shimmering, dissolving into waves. Then it stills again, and the face returns, not younger, not older, just true. I am not afraid to die, Djoser says softly. But I grieve the leaving. You feel that grief too, not as sorrow, but as sweetness, because every parting is made possible by love. He rises from the pool and turns to the western gate of the complex. The final rites are beginning. The priests wait in 2 long rows, holding palm branches and lotus blossoms. Incense rises in curling strands, weaving through the air like unspoken prayers. Djoser walks between them, slowly, reverently. His steps are measured, not in distance, but in memory. Each footfall is a life lived. Each breath is a chapter closing. You follow at a respectful distance, feeling the world shift around you as though the air has thickened. The light turned golden with knowing. Imhotep waits at the base of the burial shaft, holding a scroll tied with linen and sealed with wax. His face is solemn, but not mournful. He offers the scroll to Djoser. This contains the map, he says. The names, the words, the spells, everything your soul will need. Djoser accepts it gently. He looks at Imhotep, then draws him into a quiet embrace. No words are spoken. Some friendships grow so deep, they outlast the need for speech. Then, with the scroll in hand, Djoser turns to the staircase, descending into the earth. He does not hesitate. He begins his final walk. You move with him, the torches casting long shadows against the walls of the shaft. The air cools as you descend, a comforting coolness, like the hush of sacred stone. The corridor opens into the burial chamber. The walls are carved with stars. The ceiling, painted black, glitters with tiny golden points. It is night made eternal. In the center stands the sarcophagus, not yet sealed. Djoser pauses beside it. He places the scroll gently within. Then he turns, and for the first time, he looks truly tired, not weary of body, but full of life, full of memory, full of having lived. He sits on the edge of the sarcophagus, gazing upward. Do you see it? He whispers. You follow his eyes. A narrow shaft carved into the stone above it leads all the way to the sky. At this hour, the light filters down in a pale beam. Dust dances in the air like stars. That, he says, is where my soul will rise. You stand beside him as the priests begin the prayers outside the chamber. Their voices are low, steady, woven into the stone. Djoser lies back inside the sarcophagus, hands folded. He does not close his eyes. He watches the shaft of light, and then, softly, he speaks. If I become nothing, let me be part of the sky. If I become memory, let me be a quiet one. If I become light, let me fall gently on the stones of Saqqara. He closes his eyes, and he breathes. And you breathe with him. The chamber dims, the chants rise, and above, the mirror of time reflects a soul at peace. Sleep now, let your breath mirror his. Let your heart settle. Like dust on sacred stone, you have walked with a king. You have seen his soul. And now you rest beside it, until the next dawn, soft, silent, eternal. The night within the tomb is not dark, not truly. It is a different kind of light that fills the space now. A quiet radiance, softer than fire, gentler than moonlight. It lives in the silence, in the breath between prayers, in the weight of stone that no longer feels heavy. You are here again. The chamber is still, sacred. The sarcophagus rests at the center of the room, its surface cool and unadorned, carved from fine alabaster. Upon it, the name of Djoser is etched in symbols, more graceful than grand, not shouted into time, but whispered into it. You stand at the edge of the chamber, watching, listening. There is no fear here, no mourning, only devotion. All around the tomb are small clay figures, arranged carefully along the walls and niches, silent sentinels. Their forms are simple, their faces indistinct, and yet each holds something in its tiny hands. A hoe, a basket, a vessel, shabti, servants of the afterlife. They are not dolls, they are not tokens, they are promises. Promises that the king will never be alone. Promises that his soul will be tended, guided, carried through the long fields of the duat. Imhotep once said, "The dead do not rest unless they are remembered." And here, within this chamber, memory lives not only in stone and spell, but in these humble guardians. You step closer. Each figure is different. Each has been shaped with careful hands, some by artisans, others perhaps by the priests, or by the king himself in his final days. They line the room like stars arranged, for a purpose, waiting in eternal readiness. The air is thick with frankincense and ancient chants, and yet, beneath it all, you feel something else, patience. These little figures do not hurry, they do not fade, they simply wait. In the heart of the chamber, Djoser's body has been anointed, unwrapped, encased in linen, layered with prayers, tucked in amulets, not for preservation of flesh, but for protection of soul. The heart scarab rests upon his chest. The eye of Horus guards his brow. The crook and flail are crossed gently in his hands, symbols not of rule, but of guidance. He is no longer just a king, he is a voyager. You imagine his soul, the bar, taking flight, a bird with a human face, soaring up the shaft of light above the chamber, rising toward the stars. But the shabti do not follow, they stay, they hold their vigil. Because not all who guard leave, some remain to keep memory alive within the walls of the world. You feel a strange warmth as you move along the chamber's edge, past painted panels and false doors, past canopic jars and offering vessels. Everything here has meaning. Everything here is part of the journey. And still, the shabti wait. One of them catches your eye, smaller than the others, with a tiny reed brush held in its hand. Its features are worn from time, but you think you see a smile there, a knowing one. Perhaps this one remembers a younger Djoser, the boy beneath, the tree tracing symbols in the dust. Perhaps this shabti was meant not to labor, but to remind, to hold joy where sorrow might try to enter. You kneel beside it, fingers hovering just above its curved back, and you whisper, not to the figure, but to the king. You are not forgotten. Your words float in the chamber like the scent of sacred oil, not loud, not bold, but enough. You rise and look once more at the rows of figures. In ancient belief, each shabti would come alive in the field of reeds. When the gods called upon the deceased to labor, to harvest, to tend the sacred ground, and when the voice said, "You there? Arise and work for your king," the shabti would answer, "I am here, I will do it." You hear that now, not aloud, but deep within. I am here. I will do it, not only for Djoser, but for all who came before, for all who come after, for memory, for meaning. This vigil is not just for the dead. It is for the living, too. A reminder that we are not alone in our becoming, that we are always being watched over, carried forward, honored in stillness. The priests return to the edge of the corridor, their voices soft, their torches low. They will seal the chamber soon, not to trap, but to protect, not to hide, but to preserve. Djoser's soul has already begun its passage. You feel it. A breeze through the shaft of the tomb, a flicker of light on the stone wall, a whisper in your ear that sounds like memory. You step back now, giving space to the priests. You bow your head, not out of ritual, but reverence. And one last time, you look into the chamber. The king rests. The shabti wait. The tomb breathes. And time holds still. You step away into the rising twilight. The stars above are beginning to gather again. And in them, you see the faint outline of a soul taking shape. Not in body, not in voice, but in presence. A king walking the stars. A king carried by his promises. A king remembered by those who stay. Sleep now beneath the gaze of gentle guardians. Let the shabti keep watch, not just over Djoser, but over you. They are patient, they are kind, they are always listening. Rest, the night will hold you, and the soul of the king will dream on. Hi ChatGPT. The dawn breaks slowly today, as if it knows this is no ordinary morning. The sun does not rise in a rush. It peeks gently over the horizon, spilling its golden breath over the stones of Saqqara. Every grain of sand seems to shimmer. Every shadow stretches just a little longer, reluctant to leave the stillness behind. You are already awake. You have not slept in the way the body sleeps, but in the way the heart rests. Deep, quiet, present. Today is the day of the final ceremony. The day when the last breath is honored. Not mourned, not feared, honored. You walk the length of the courtyard in silence. The air is sweet with the scent of blue lotus and warmed resin. The priests are gathering, their white robes whispering along the ground like the wings of herons. Each one carries something small, a vessel of oil, a strip of linen, a carved charm, a prayer. The ritual is not for death, it is for transformation. Imhotep stands at the foot of the pyramid, holding a golden scepter that glows in the morning light. He says nothing as you pass him. His eyes meet yours, and there is a message in them. You are part of this now. The sacred chamber has been sealed. Djoser lies in stillness, wrapped and anointed, his body prepared according to the divine order. But the soul does not rest yet. It lingers, it listens. It waits for the ceremony that will open its mouth to speak the language of eternity. The opening of the mouth. You enter the ritual hall. It is simple, carved of soft stone, its walls covered with depictions of sacred tools, adzas, censers, incantation scrolls. The air is warm and humming with expectation. A statue of Djoser stands at the center, life-size, carved in polished limestone, its features serene and strong. This image is more than a likeness. It is a vessel, a doorway. Through it, the car, the vital spirit, may enter. Through it, the soul may speak again. You stand near the back, watching as the ritual begins. A procession of priests circles the statue slowly, chanting from the book of coming forth by day. Their voices rise and fall like breath, as if inhaling from the past and exhaling into forever. One priest carries a sacred blade carved of obsidian. Another carries incense and fire. A third holds a brush tipped with sacred water. Each movement is precise, as if they are sculpting the unseen. Imhotep steps forward. He holds the ritual adze in both hands, a tool shaped like a crescent moon, symbolic of birth, of separation, of opening. He lifts it to the statue's mouth, and then, with the gentlest motion, he touches the lips. "May your mouth be opened," he says, "so you may speak the names of the gods." He touches the eyes. "May your sight return, so you may see the stars that await you." He touches the ears. "May you hear the prayers of those who follow." Each touch is a blessing, each word a key, and with each, the room begins to feel different, fuller, warmer, alive. You feel it too, a shift in the air, like something waking inside the silence. A soul returning, a name remembering itself. Djoser is here, not in body, in presence. He does not speak aloud, but you hear him. You feel his breath in yours, his heartbeat in the rhythm of the priest's chants. He walks among them now, unseen, but radiant. And you, who have walked with him so far, feel him pause beside you. "Do you see?" he whispers, though his lips do not move. "This was never about death. You listen. It was about becoming, about remembering the shape of the soul." He stands now before the statue, gazing into his own face. And for the first time, he smiles with no sorrow. He has returned to himself, returned to what he always was, beneath the robes, the crown, the stone, light, love, breath. The ritual nears its end. The priests bow deeply. The air is thick with sandalwood smoke and golden light. The statue glows with a subtle warmth, as though it too has taken a breath. Imhotep lays the adze down beside the altar and steps back. Then silence. Not the silence of emptiness, the silence of fulfillment, the silence after a long, gentle song. You walk with Imhotep to the edge of the courtyard once more. Neither of you speaks. You do not need to. He gazes at the rising sun and finally says, "He has passed." You nod, but you do not feel loss. You feel presence. Djoser is not gone. He is in the stone that holds your feet, in the wind that touches your skin, in the breath you did not know you were holding. You sit beneath the acacia tree, now the same one from the beginning, older but unchanged. The breeze rustles, the leaves above, birds sing quietly from distant palms, and you remember a boy drawing spirals in dust, a man listening to stone, a king building not for glory, but for memory, a soul walking into light. You close your eyes, and in the warm darkness, you see a staircase, stone steps, rising into sky. Each one steady, each one sacred, each one a breath taken in the name of love. Djoser is walking them now, slowly, without fear. He turns to look back, once, not in longing, but in blessing. And then he climbs higher, into sky, into story, into silence. Let your breath slow now, let your body soften. The ceremony is complete. You have witnessed the soul's last breath in this world and its first breath. In the next, sleep, with reverence, with stillness, with peace, for you have seen the opening of eternity, and eternity will remember you too. The sun stands at its zenith now, high above the sands of Saqqara. The heat is strong, but not harsh. It wraps around you like a soft linen robe, warmed by time. The wind carries only the lightest whisper, and even the birds seem to pause in the air. It is a day suspended, caught between the world of the living and the unseen chamber of the soul. You return again to the edge of the Step Pyramid, no longer just an observer, but a part of the place. Everything has changed, and yet everything remains. The burial chamber has been sealed. The final rites are complete. But something continues here, not in body, not in voice, but in presence. The pyramid breathes. You feel it in the heat radiating from the stones, in the deep hum beneath your feet, in the quiet echo of footsteps that no longer fall. Djoser is gone, and yet he is everywhere. You walk the length of the enclosure walls, your fingers trailing gently over the etched limestone. Rows of hieroglyphs flow beside you, names of gods, prayers to the western sky, depictions of offerings that stretch into eternity. Each symbol is alive with meaning, holding not just words, but emotion. You pause before one image. It is a scene, carved in delicate relief. Djoser standing before Osiris, arms outstretched, with the ankh of life pressed to his lips. Behind him, rows of shabby figures bow low, bearing baskets and jars. Above, a row of stars curves across the top of the wall, not painted, but incised, as if trying to let the sky through. You touch the stone. It is warm, and for a moment, it feels as though Djoser's hand rests beside yours. The priests no longer linger in the complex. The workers have returned to their villages. The scribes have rolled up their scrolls. Even Imhotep, the ever-watchful, walks now only in the outer gardens, his hands folded behind his back, eyes turned inward. But you remain, because you are not here to finish something. You are here to remember. The pyramid rises, behind you, tiered, deliberate, elegant in its simplicity. There are no gold-capped peaks, no garlands of jewels. It is built not to shine in the eyes of men, but to stand in the gaze of gods. It is the first of its kind, not a tomb. A transformation. You lie on the ground at its base now, letting the warmth of the earth seep into your bones. Above you, the sky is cloudless, infinite, and for the first time, you allow yourself to weep, not from sorrow, but from the sheer beauty of it all. How strange it is, you think, that we bury the ones we love, and yet, how holy, because what is burial, if not a return? To earth, to memory, to light, and Djoser has returned to all three. Imhotep joins you later in the afternoon. He does not speak at first. He sits beside you in silence, hands resting on his knees, eyes watching the flicker of heat waves in the distance. Then, after a long pause, he says softly, "When we first carved the foundation, I thought we were building a monument." He glances at the pyramid. "But now, I see, we were building a soul." You nod. Imhotep picks up a small stone, rolls it between his fingers. "I placed his heart scarab myself," he says, laid it above the chest, right beneath the folds of linen. You turn toward him. Do you think it will guide him? Imhotep smiles faintly. No, he does not need it anymore. But it was not for him. It was for us. You understand, some rites are not for the dead. They are for the living, to help us hold, to help us release, to help us remember. You and Imhotep walk together that evening as the sun begins to dip, casting long shadows across the stone colonnades. The pyramid's edges glow amber. Its steps seem to dissolve into sky. Will others build like this? You ask. Imhotep is quiet for a while. Then, yes. And they will build greater, taller, with more stone, more gold. But this. He looks back, toward the pyramid, his voice thick. This will always be the first. The first dream carved into the desert. The first soul bound to stone not by fear, but by hope. You part ways with him in the inner courtyard. He bows to you, not out of ritual, but respect. A silent thank you from one witness to another. You walk alone once more, circling the sacred complex one final time. Each step takes you deeper into remembrance. You pause at the false doors, portals carved for the car to pass through. You leave a single lotus blossom there. Its petals are pale, its scent faint and clean. You rest beside the western wall, where the boundary between life and death feels thinnest. You place your hand upon the stone and close your eyes, and in that darkness you see it again, the staircase rising into the stars. But this time you are not watching, you are climbing. With each step you feel lighter. With each step you feel closer, to sky, to memory, to something larger than yourself. At the summit you find no throne, only light, and in that light you see him. Djoser. Not as he was, not as he is remembered, but as he truly is. A soul wrapped not in linen, but in love. A presence that hums. Like starlight, he places a hand on your shoulder. Thank you, he whispers. You wake slowly as the wind brushes against your cheek. The desert sighs beneath the sky. The light has changed. You rise and face the pyramid one last time. You say no words. You simply remember. Then you turn, and you begin to walk, not away, but forward, carrying with you the shape of silence, the weight of light, the memory of a king who taught the world that eternity begins, not in death, but in the decision to live with reverence. Sleep now. Let the weight lift from your shoulders. You are held, you are remembered, and you too are buried in light. Night has come again to Saqqara, but this is not the same night that came before. This night breathes differently. It stretches wide and deep, a dome of velvet hung with silver pinpricks, each one a soul remembering itself, and you are still. Here, not by accident, by devotion. The pyramid now glows only faintly in the dark, its edges softened by time and shadow. It no longer seems like a building. It feels like a mountain left behind by the gods, a place from which the soul has ascended, a stair no longer needed by the one who dreamed it into being. You lie beneath the open sky, near the base of that sacred monument. The stones are warm beneath you. The wind is cool on your face. There is no sound but the hush of sand shifting softly, the low murmur of memory. And overhead, the stars, you feel them as much as see them. They pulse gently in the dark, not cold, not far, close. Present. Each one carries a name, a story, a light that cannot be extinguished, and somewhere among them, Djoser walks. You feel it before you see it, not a vision, but a knowing, a presence woven into the constellations, a rhythm that moves through the silence like breath. The soul of the king has left the earth, but he has not left you. You close. Your eyes dot, and in the darkness the stars gather. They fold gently around you, drawing you upward, inward, across the fabric of the night. You are weightless, not floating, remembering you pass through the field of reeds, lush and golden, stretching endlessly beneath the twilight sky. You feel the grass brush your fingertips, hear the sound of sacred birds singing songs of return. The scent of lotus is strong in the air, mingling with myrrh and something older still, the perfume of home. And there, on the edge of the field, stands Djoser. He is no longer clothed in linen. He wears light. It drapes across his form like the desert wind. His eyes hold stars in them, and his voice, when he speaks, is like water over stone. You've come far, he says. You nod, unable to find words. But you were never following me, he continues. You were following yourself. You look around, the sky curves endlessly above. The pyramid is far below now, a faint shape in the sand. The world is vast, but it is not empty. I am not the end of the path, Djoser says gently. I was only a mirror. You feel tears slip down your face, not from sadness, from peace. He steps closer. You walked beside me, he says. You remembered me, but most of all, you listened. He places a hand over your heart, and so now I am part of you. The stars flicker above. A constellation rearranges itself, not by force, but by grace. And in the pattern you see it. A step, another, a stairway traced across the night sky. Djoser smiles. I built with stone, but you will build with memory. He begins to walk upward, but not alone. Behind him, other souls gather, priests, artisans, mothers, children, those long forgotten, and those yet to come. They all walk together, not to vanish, but to become. Each step is soft, each movement sacred, and still he turns back one last time. Tell them, he says. Tell them it was not about power, not about monuments. It was about love. You whisper back, I will. And then he fades. Not into nothingness, into everything. The stars hum, the wind sings low. You fall gently downward, cradled in the arms of sky, back to the earth you came from. The pyramid rises around you once more, its form eternal, its silence kind. You awaken beneath the acacia tree, the same tree from the beginning. Its leaves shimmer in the morning breeze. Birdsong returns, and you feel whole. You walk the path once more, this time not as visitor, but as part of the place. You know now that the soul is not a thing to lose. It is not buried. It is not locked away. It is the wind that moves through stone. It is the warmth that lingers on sacred ground. It is the quiet that lives inside your chest. When all else has fallen still, you stop at the gate of the complex and look back. The pyramid stands alone, and yet not alone. It stands in light, bound by memory, held by love. And as you turn to go, you carry no relics, only the sound of the soul walking through stars. Sleep now, beloved listener. Let the stars guide you gently. Let the breath slow, the silence grow. Let the dream never end. The king is at peace. You are at peace, and in the quiet between night and morning, his whisper remains, good night.